Okay. Well, good people, it is Thursday, April 4th, 2019, and welcome to Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice, J280. I'm welcoming back most of you from previous classes, and it's so good to see so many familiar names that I have here. That is just exciting for me, and then you guys are on your way to graduation with your associates, and then I hope to see many of you in the Bachelor Completer program. I am now teaching constitutional law, which is a class that is in the Bachelor Completer program, and I have a bunch of students in that class that I've had that were students of mine in obtaining their associate's degrees. So I'm very excited about that. So anyway, I'm going to get right down to the expectations. The good part about you guys is that I don't have to work as hard in terms of getting you to understand my expectations, but there is one thing I'm going to nail home to you tonight that you should be already in the habit of it, but I'm going to nail it in to you. I am going to take time tonight to explain the requirements of the field project, and then I will probably adjourn. And so I will not go over my challenge for adversity to springboard to success, except to say that all you guys already know that I went through a whole lot to get to where I am, and you know that my expectations are high for each of you, and the names that I know here are all students who met those expectations or exceeded them, and I'm very, very, very excited. And so this course, as you're going to discover pretty quickly, is like an independent studies course, and that I am going to be not with you every other week, not with you every week, but you'll see the schedule that I've already posted as to when we have our lectures. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And by the way, a lot of people didn't think about it, but I did. I posted to Facebook today, recalling that today is April 4th, and that 51 years ago today, April 4th, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated, and I paused today to think about that, and I'm thankful that really his work in civil rights made it possible for me to achieve success, become a lawyer, attend a good law school, to get a good education, to live in decent housing, and have a good job, and to attend schools that would allow me to interact with people from various backgrounds. And so it is exciting, and I'm very excited about the fact that yours truly, after his death, years later, had a chance to participate in helping the holiday to become a national holiday. We had in Illinois pretty fast, thanks to the late Harold Washington, who was the first African-American mayor of Chicago, and he was a state senator at that time, and Illinois legislation was signed by the governor, I don't remember which one, that made Dr. King's birthday a state holiday. And subsequent to that, I was involved in preparing the petition that was used throughout the state of Illinois, where it was decided that Dr. King's birthday should become a national holiday. And then I went to Washington, D.C., with a lot of civil rights leaders, and we presented our petitions. I remember that was the day that Stevie Wonder, who was involved there in D.C., released his famous version of Happy Birthday, and we were all given copies of that at that time. Somewhere I got those copies, but I am so excited about the fact that it is now celebrated. I think it's the second Monday in January every year, even though his birthday is January 15th. So I just wanted to pause and talk about that. It is very important, and it's important to all of us, not just African Americans, but to all minorities, all races, all sexes, all sexual persuasions, people in the United States of America and worldwide, because of a man that was killed 51 years ago, Dr. Martin Luther King. So having said that, I'm going to move on into the material here. All right. So now, as you know already, you know my feeling here. You know my name. You know my phone number, all of you. And you also know that I mean what I say when my statement is included that says you can feel free to call me, text me, or email me any hour of the day except the 25th hour of the day. You guys know what that means, and you know that it is not just something to make you laugh. It is something that I have carried out because I respond very quickly. I love my students, and I thank my students because the administration receives a lot of surveys from students who appreciate my teaching. I mean, well, heck, all you guys, most of you guys in this class knew I was teaching, and they said, "Oh man, here he comes again." You know, no, it's like wow, and I appreciate some of the comments I've seen in the student lounge. So I am a professor who is probably one of the most hands-on professors that any student will have. I don't leave you after you graduate. I continue to work with students and help them with letters of recommendation and all of those kind of cool things, because I'd like to see you guys become what I had said earlier in other classes with you guys, educated, ethical, professional, criminal justice professional. So those are the three things I work with, and hoping you guys will continue to operate with that. Having said that, so you know what the 25th hour of the day means. Rubrics, I constantly have been teaching you with rubrics, and rubrics are very important. APA, this is what I want to talk about. Now, you all know that I'm really dogmatic about APA. And the reason why I'm dogmatic about APA is because, one, it is a school policy, but number two, because it also deals with academic integrity. I'm going to share a video with you in a few minutes, one that is newly created, and you can look it on the left of the page. You'll see the Learning Center head, John Vladeck, who used to be my dean at Romeoville, and he's going to take you through a video. I'm going to take my headset off, and then you'll be able to see that video. But that video is also available under the resources tab as well, which you all are very, very, very familiar with. So APA is so important. So you're going to discover very carefully that whatever kind of a written assignment you do, citations in the body and references at the end, 12-point Roman, cover page. And you know, too, that your paper shouldn't just have one citation in the body. Citations should be provided throughout the body of the paper, because citations provide support for the statements that are included in your papers. And so you guys are at this stage, and I know you're going to do very well with that. And you know what happens. Some professors will give students some points for citations and leaving off references. I don't do that, because the reason I do that is because I don't want you to be part right. Matter of fact, you're either right or you're wrong, okay? And so you either satisfy APA or you don't. And if you don't satisfy all the requirements of APA in the way I grade you guys, and consistently all the way across, is that citations in the body, references in the end, cover page, and then, you know, is very important. So then critical thinking, I don't have to explain that to you guys, because by now you know about all of that. You actually took a class in that, and I have talked about that over and over. And so these three items, rubrics, APA, and critical thinking, are important in my grading. You know about this additional course information here, because first of all, number one, this is really different in this class than previous classes you had with me. So you can almost ignore, you can actually ignore this statement as it relates to textbooks, because there is no textbook in this course. That's why I pretty much said this is an independent studies course. There is no textbook. The idea of this course is for you to conduct research, for you to prepare yourself for exiting, either going to the bachelor completer program or going out in to the workforce. And we're going to have issues throughout the quarter dealing with things that will help prepare you, such as interviewing techniques, resume writing, and all those kind of good things. So there's we're going to deal with almost all the things. If you've taken a chance or taken the opportunity to review the information that is in each week module, you'll discover that it's like, oh yeah, it's like, this is like a summary. So, but the title of this course hits it right on: Contemporary Issues in Criminal Justice. And I will be providing information in articles that I ran across that are dealing with contemporary issues. And I had one that I posted in your discussion post and asked you guys some questions so you can respond to those. And I'm going to try to have more of those kinds of things as we go throughout the quarter. And so anyway, there is not a textbook, so you don't have to worry about using it as a sole source. But you already know about the second paragraph, and that is APA. And then you also know about the cover sheet. And then you also know about this information here, because it's the same stuff that you should have been familiar with. And you can still use these things in this course by clicking on the link. Tutoring, I've already made statements before, and I'll say it again, that tutoring is so important. In fact, some of you guys, I think one is in this class is a tutor. I think I might be wrong, or it might be my T2 courses that I'm teaching. But anyway, tutoring is so important. We have student tutors that are students who, in their work studies, they have gone through the rigorous training, and they're at the top of their classes in terms of grades, like most of you are, and that they do that as well. It's a resume builder, but it also helps pay some money towards tuition. Everybody in this course is not my child. If you were my child and you were living with me, because I work here at the college, you're entitled to free tuition. So watch me get all these requests now for Professor, will you adopt me, please? You know. So, but anyway, the bottom line is that that helps to pay. That's funny. I hear you. And so, yeah, everybody says line up. You know, I says, well, I got quite a few dependents. There's room for more, you know, but So anyway, you know, I like to enjoy. I have fun, and I think that's a quality that everybody should adapt in life. Laughter is good for the soul, the heart, the spirit, the health, and even is good for the wealth. So anyway, these are articles down here that you're familiar with, and so I'm not going to beat that in. And then your critical thinking video, which if you're rusty, just you know copy and paste. You know, some people say, "Oh, it's not blue. I can't click on it." Yeah, well, if you can't click on something, you copy and paste it. Now, I know you all know about copying and pasting. Okay, and you know about using Grammarly, by the way, because I didn't mention that. But you already know my policy on running papers through Grammarly and making sure that you check the plagiarism box. So anyway, here are the rubrics for the course, and they're located on the course homepage. And rubrics do match up with how I grade your papers. And so today's written assignment is then versus now. And you're going to explain the three components of the criminal justice system. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, but you know what they are. I can tell that some of you have because I've graded a couple of papers. One person submitted just one of the components, but it says the three components, and then explain which field interests you and why you chose that field. Explain significant events for each decade for your chosen field. You get 10 points for that. And then your grammar, remember, APA is where you lose your points, and the required page count, which you'll see. So each week we use that. Now, when we get down to some weeks, you're going to see a written assignment and the field progress report. And generally speaking, the field progress report is, as I scroll down, weeks 5, I think it's weeks 8, yeah, week 8, 5, 8, and I think 10 or 11, yeah. I think it's 5, 8, and 11. I don't think I missed any. Let's see. No, I didn't. So it's weeks 5, 8, and 11. I don't wait until then to do it. And I'm going to talk about the assignment in a minute. So anyway, there's your rubric, okay? It's clear right there, all right? And I'm going to deduct points if you don't do things. And again, like I said, remember APA. Many students in this course lose 5 points right off the bat. So they end up getting 25 points. They have everything else done, but they lose 5 points. And 5 points can add up over the course of the weeks, and it can make the difference in an A or B. And then there is an assessment that we'll be dealing with in week 10. Don't even worry about it right now. When we come to that, we'll talk about that, and I'll provide details about that. And then your week 11, there is your final report, and then you'll see also there's a final exam. Okay, but that's not until week 11, and it's not even something you can really study for, but you'll see when we get closer to it, we'll talk about it. So, you know this link, you're familiar with that. The classroom has not changed, and it tells you that lectures are 8:30, and this says 8:30 to 10, and it may not go to 10, and then it may tonight normally, and that begins today, and it's an open house. And the remaining lectures will take place as indicated. Notice now, here's what I said earlier, that we will not be doing it like before every week as you do 5.5 courses, and we will not be doing it every even week as we did in, if you took Introduction to Corrections, as some of you have been in that class with me. And so we, and it's a different kind of project, by the way, from the one that you did in the Introduction to Corrections. This is more detailed, and you'll see why when we get to it. So anyway, after today, there will not be a lecture next week, week 2. So the next one will be week 3. Now notice what happens. You got week 3, then you got a little gap, 6, and then we finish off with the even weeks of. So really, basically, the 6, 8, and 10. So that's when your live lectures, and they'll be 8:30 to 9:30 or less. Most of them are less because of the material that I cover. And you must attend the lectures or give me, you know, the key word, all right? And then I will, of course, take the lectures that are recorded, copy them. You're familiar with that process already. All right. So now let's go over to the other side of the page. And let's take a minute. And I am going to take off my headset. We're going to take a look at this 4-minute video about academic integrity. So I'm going to open up another little area, okay, and then I'm going to put that in there. Then I'm going to paste, and then we'll go right to it. And you'll see it right here on the left side in a second. There it is. And then I'm going to open it up. And then, so it's about 4 minutes. This is something that the college has done to help clarify academic integrity. Get ready.
What is academic integrity? Academic integrity is making decisions in your academic life that are based on honesty, trust, fairness, responsibility, and respect. This means being honest in the work you do, while respecting the work that others do. So what is cheating? Cheating means distributing or receiving answers or information by any means other than those expressly permitted by an assignment's requirements or an instructor. Some examples of cheating include asking fellow students for answers or copying answers during the test, using notes, devices, or materials during the test that your instructor has not approved, purchasing papers from websites or other sources, copying your classmate's work, assisting a classmate in misconduct, and other violations as noted in the academic integrity policy that can be found in all course syllabi. Always ask your professor if it's okay to use notes during the test or to work together with classmates on an assignment or quiz. Now let's talk about plagiarism. Plagiarism means using another individual's work without giving them credit or taking another person's work and claiming it as your work. Some examples of plagiarism are turning in an assignment that someone else wrote, copying words or ideas from someone else. This can be a library resource, course textbook, internet resource, or other material without giving the original creator credit, failing to put quoted works in quotation marks, or using someone else's ideas in your essays, but changing a few of the words to make it sound like the words are your own. Plagiarism is not just about written words and ideas. It's possible to plagiarize images, graphs, coding, or video as well. So how can you avoid plagiarism? Cite your sources, both in the body of your paper as in-text citations and on your references page. Whenever you want to use words, images, media, or ideas that were created by another person, you should cite that person appropriately as the source of that information.
But how does academic integrity relate to the work world? Isn't it just a college thing?
No. Integrity in the workplace starts with good practices and skills built while you are students. Would you turn in a project document to your manager as your own when someone else wrote it? Not if you want to keep your job. Individuals can be reprimanded or even fired from their job for plagiarism. Following academic integrity guidelines while you are in school builds those skills and ethical practices that carry through to the workforce.
Okay, I understand how they're connected, but what do I do if I need more help?
If you have questions on the academic integrity policy, consult your course syllabus. Talk with your instructor or dean And if you need assistance with APA citation style or how to avoid plagiarism, contact the Rasmussen Library team through our live chat or schedule a research appointment on our library website or through the resources tab of your course. If you would like APA tutoring, schedule an appointment with one of our peer tutors on the course resources tab.
Okay, give me a minute while I hook myself back up. Okay, I should be back.
Cancel the test. Okay, now I should be able to be heard. Can you hear me? Type yes. Okay, great. So that means I'm back on with my headset. So anyway, that is something that you guys already know. You guys are pretty good at it, but the school asked us to share this with students in each of our sessions, and so I do this fit perfectly with open house. And as it says, it also allows me to go through the syllabus a little faster because I always, as you know, cover the syllabus. And then I also have resources of APA. I've always done that. And then we move further down. And let me refresh now. Okay, and get to this announcement. I don't have to spend a lot of time with this because you're already familiar with this. This is basically the same welcome announcement that I use. I just changed the information in there to the course. But all of this information you guys are familiar with. Checking your announcements frequently. You know, a little student lounge, posting information which you guys did this week, and if you haven't, take time to do it. It helps us to get to know each other, even though we know each other, but other people may not know you, but probably most of the people in this class know each other anyway because they've been in other classes. Knows your course mail is always so important, and you guys know about that. The syllabus, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, and then it does address academic integrity policy, the attendance policy, and late assignment submission policy, most of which I will not have to go over again, but I'll just kind of speed through those because of who's in this course. And then, of course, you know your importance of your course calendar. I've had students to come to me and say, well, how do I know when an assignment is due? Well, first of all, it's in the announcement. It is also covered in the actual, well, no, the rubrics doesn't cover it here, but it covers in the announcement and is also covered in the course calendar, which all you're familiar with because it covers the whole 11 weeks. General course questions, most of you guys don't do this, but if you have a question that everyone should be able to see, not personal issues, you know, and things like that, because everybody's going to see the general course questions, and anybody can address it, even the students as well. Resources tab, you're familiar with that, and then you're familiar with the report tab. I had a student one time last quarter, and the student said to me, I didn't know I was supposed to check my grades every week. I says, I just kind of chuckled and says, I'm not laughing at you. I'm saying, how important are your grades to you? And the student said, important. I says, well, how do you know what your grades are? Well, I look at and see what you put in the grade book and so forth. I says, okay, in order to do that, you have to use your report tab anyway. So they didn't even know they were using it. But I can't use it because I don't have a grade book for myself. I'm not graded. And so anyway, lastly, we have the information, the guides that help you that are on the other side as well as here, as well as in your resources tab. And then these are some more things. And then reminding you about our lectures, as I've already shared, weeks 1, which is now 3, 6, 8, and 10. And it says something incorrectly, so let me fix it. Let me fix it right now. Okay, I gotta go do something because it says the wrong time. So let's go to edit announcements. Give me a minute. Okay, because it used to be that with other classes. So it is from Oh, why isn't it doing that? Oh, let's see. No, I got it. Oh, I know what I got to do. I got to do the little chevron thing. I got to do edit, and let's go and go down here. Okay, it is actually from 8:30 to 9:30. Yeah, and then actually tonight is 10. But you know, generally that's the way they are. Okay, so let me fix that up. Submit it. Okay, now let me go back to the course homepage, and it should be corrected. Let me make sure. Let me Okay, let's go down. Let's go refresh it. So now it should definitely say 8:30 to 9:30, and it does. So that is the correct time. So it is not 6:30 to 7. Nobody went in that early anyway because I didn't get any notices anybody was in the classroom. And then this is the link and so forth. All right, so now let's look at the announcement for week 1. And each week you're familiar with my announcement setup. Overview of capstone, overview of the whole process will be presented. And it says to read the module. Yeah, look at the module and the grading rubric. We already went over the grading rubric, and you're familiar with that. And then explain to you that beginning tonight, we will do the lectures, and it's based on what the schedule is based on. Week 1, 3, 6, 8, and 10. Be sure to participate in the discussion assignment relationship between the 3 components. You know, the initial post course was due yesterday. I'm sorry, day before yesterday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, and then Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard. And you know my policy on discussion posts. And just to refresh your memory, make sure they're detailed, and also make sure they're on time. I like citations and references, but I don't require them. I do encourage you to reply or respond to more than one post. Most of you are pretty good at those kinds of things, encouraging each other, supporting each other, and good content in these posts. And the other thing that I want to say is remind you that if you submit a post if you submit a post by Sunday, if you submit an initial post and reply post on Sunday, deals off. If you submit a initial post and reply post by Saturday, you will get points taken off because it's late from Tuesday, but your points will be given for having your reply post on time. If you submit your initial post on Saturday, and you will lose points for that being late, but you will also lose a point if you submit one Sunday. That's a special thing that I do, and that you will lose points, 1 point, because it's late. If you submit it on Monday, all deals are off. And you know why that is, because discussion forum will be changing that following week. Finally, your written assignment, then versus now. And, you know, we already discussed that with the rubric, and then we're going to go over in a minute in the module. Okay, and then, you know, that's due every Sunday until we get to the end of the quarter. Then I said I will discuss the fieldwork component, which I'm going to do before we adjourn tonight. And then this is remind you about the open house and so forth. And then, you know, and then also it gives the link again for this, where it is. Everybody should be familiar with my classroom now. You've been in it a number of times. So, you know, let's start strong and let's finish strong. And then you will learn what you already know, that my motto is adversity springboard success. and you know that's based upon the challenges that I had to overcome in life, coming up from even a 7-year-old all the way up to even present time. But especially in my entire time, I was going through junior college, college, law school, and then even grammar school and high school, because of what things happened in my home that caused me to become a lawyer first, and then, as you know, later on I became a village prosecutor, village attorney, and you also know that I was a part-time police officer, that I participated in drug raids, roadblock assignments, but I never wore a uniform. Investigator of internal affairs, because there were a lot of how should I say, crooked police officers or unethical police officers in that town, and one chief got sat down because he was being investigated, and then the new chief saw that I was straightforward and clean, and solicited me, and I took the job to be his eyes and ears as the internal affairs investigator. So anyway, having done all that, and then, you know, my challenges about coming in to teach residentially and having to learn the new process of going online, becoming state program coordinator, you know, all of that. And so anyway, that's so I know that you're going to have challenges, as many of you know. I appreciate it. I already got a call today from a student who texted me. I don't know, did the student call me? No, a student called me and told me about an illness, and I told the student, you know what, and then they had a question about the field report, so I answered that and also referred them to make sure they listen to the archive. So anyway, having said all of that, let's go now over and take a look at the course calendar. Alrighty, let's click on this course calendar. Let's see if it comes up correctly. If not, I can click on something. And of course, it does always populate other things that I click. So let me take that out. So now you'll see it disappear. There we go. So your course calendar shows, of course, you know, what the topic is for the week, you know, field work component, and then the instructions are in the module. And then your initial post, and you know about clicking on these, the open house, which is taking place right now, the reply post due Saturday, and the written assignment and when it is due. And then also one of these check marks has to do with the live lecture being required, the live lecture keyword to be submitted by 11:59 p.m. Sunday in order to get the full 5 points. And then each day, you know, it's late, you lose points. And then, you know, you'll see next week that there is no lecture, but we continue with the topics. You follow the calendar, and of course, you know what to do. If you have a question, reach out to me. And then your written assignment for next week, the 14th, is dealing with a high profile case. And you take a look at this note and then also follow the rubric as well. And then that, so then we start the third week, and then, you know, we have the lecture on the 18th. So our lectures are, and then once we have that one, then there's going to be a break until, that's the last lecture actually in the month of April. Next one we don't have until May 9th, okay? And then, so you can go over and you can click anytime. And I do suggest printing these up, but, you know, you don't have to. Then you see the 9th, and then you see the 23rd, and then you see the 6th is the final lecture, and that's the 6th of June at that particular point. And then you see that the quarter ends on the 14th. And a lot of people sometimes think it's going to end that following Sunday like it was Sunday before. Nope, but that's when we get to week 11. So we got a ways to go there. So that's how the calendar works, just refreshing your recollection. I know you all already know that. So now let's look at the syllabus real quick. As you can see, it has the same information that you're familiar with. Then I told you what applies in this course and what not. And going down, it just tells you a little bit about the course, and you'll see the course requirements. This is basically for your research and pretty much, and then your discussions. I don't have to go through that. I don't have to go through this because you know this. There's discussion posts, there's written assignments, and then as the field work, which we're going to talk about, which you're going to be required to complete a minimum of 10 hours of field work experience. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And then there's a program assessment that consists of 100 questions. This is going to be week 11. That is not the same one that you do for ACAT, which is 10, which is an external exam, which you're not graded on, but you get points for taking it. And we ask you to try to do as best as you can. Directly by the college is administered. I'll provide you with information when we're there. And then your live lectures, of course, and this. And then you already know, that you know how many you get for sessions and what the weight is there. Your written assignments. Look at how important written assignments are in this course. 300 points, or nearly half of your grade. So that's why it's important what I said earlier about making sure you satisfy the rubric. Then your field work is 90 points, but if you add those two together, it's almost, it's over half, and you'll see that. Your program assessment, 100 questions, is 16% of your grade. You try to perform well on that one. And then, of course, your live lectures, because you have 5 lectures, then you're going to make sure that you get those points for that. And that adds up to 625. And then I'm not going to have to make my announcement to you already, because you already know my policy about asking me how to get a C in my course. I don't answer that. You know how I am. I point out that I am an AB professor, that I want my students to end up in that level. I want you to wear the gold cords when you graduate. And that reflects the fact that you graduate with honors. The way you do that is stay up in these, in the A all the way to B minus area. So from 100 to 80%. If you fall below 80%, then you drop into the C category, which is an area that I won't counsel or coach you on, because I don't need to help you with that. Again, you know the deal on that. Transferable skills, I don't have to go over these too much because you guys are familiar with good communication. And these are the skills, again, reminding you that we've identified at the college here that employers also are looking for. So you to be proficient in communication, critical thinking. And see, you know what? These are things that help you with your field report as well. You're going to be doing those things with these. Digital fluency, using online resources and so forth. Diversity and teamwork, you know about that as well. And in fact, as a matter of fact, there is a module that we cover diversity. So you will be talking about that as well. Ethics and professional responsibility, we've kind of already alluded to that with the academic integrity, but ethics is so important. I've always said that ethical students produce ethical professionals, unethical students produce unethical professionals, and you can end up in places that you don't want to end up, or you can end up unemployed. Simple as that. Professional responsibility, satisfying the requirements of whatever you're working in, law enforcement, corrections, probation, parole, whether you become a human services person, where you're a counselor, where you're working in a halfway house, or any of those kind of things. You want to satisfy the responsibilities. And then information literacy, being able to use resources that are credible, not using things like, as you already know, my policy on Wikipedia, but I'll say it again, never use Wikipedia in my class, because Wikipedia is a very unreliable source, and it is a word-based source, and you can go into Wikipedia and you can change dates or anything. So, for example, if you go to see the date that Martin Luther King was assassinated, you can change it to April 5th, April 2nd, April 3rd, and somebody can come along and look at it and they say, oh, no, I saw online that it was April 3rd. No, Wikipedia is not reliable. All right. And so then you'll have a chance to exercise these transferable skill requirements in your written assignments in this course, as well as your written assignments, but especially through your field report. The attendance policy, I skip over that. You already know my late assignment policy. You know how I operate on the basis that you lose 10 points for each day your assignments are late. But you also know my policy, and I already talked about the online discussion, so I'm not going to cover that. You know that I have the power and very liberal with operating with extenuating circumstances for you guys, and so you're very, very familiar with that. Don't even worry about this other part in here because it doesn't really apply. Okay. Incomplete grade policy, I don't talk about that. And then academic and college integrity policy, we kind of talked about that already through that video, but this actually goes through and it provides the definitions of some of these things in a little more detail. Okay, so this is a very important document. It is your contract from the college, and that you agree to abide by these things in order to be successful in your class. Okay, let's go to this week. Again, let's go over the assignments. Then versus now. And it's a 3 to 4 page paper. Doesn't count the covers. You know. And you want to make sure you satisfy the requirement here. Such as law enforcement, adult, juvenile probation, corrections, and then so, so anyway, whatever, here's the deal. You want to try to, this is where I try to tell students in this course, think about this like this, the way it applies with the field report. Start to think that you're not just completing an assignment. What you're doing is you're doing research for your future career. And that's what I gear you towards doing, is think of your assignments in terms of what you're going to become. That's why it says pick a field within the discipline of criminal justice that interests you. And then this gave some suggestions. These are not, that's not the sole list. And then that will become the field you will research. And then the one field that you're interested in employing, and then what does criminal justice mean to you, and so forth and so on. And so you're going to deal with this in terms of writing this paper. And then again, clicking on this, you see when it is due. It's due Sunday, okay, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And you already know what the rubric is because I've already taken you to the rubric. All right, then versus now. Okay, the discussion post is the relationship between the three components, and then of course your live lecture. Okay. All right, let's go back to something. I want to show you something so you make sure that you match it up. See, there's your rubric, then versus now, and it tells you right there, okay? All right, so let's go back. to Module 1 and your assignments. So you got it. Your discussion posts and then your live lecture, okay? So now let's go back and let's get into the section where I'm pretty much going to wrap it up with this course, this lecture today, because I'm not going to have to go through the details on what adversity springboard to success is, because you already know what that is. So let's go to that. All right. So by the end of this week, you'll know the importance of hands-on experience in criminal justice. You're going to describe what the 3 components are, because you're doing that in your discussion, relationship between the 3 components. And then demonstrate criminal justice employment readiness. You're going to do that by operating with your written assignment. And then as you begin to think in terms of your mind with your field work. So having gone through that, let's go now to the field work component. Now, there will be students who will say to me, where do I find a summary of this? In the open house and right here. So now you're at the point, you're at capstone. Now, the name capstone actually indicates what it is. It means you're putting a lid on what you've learned over the course of the program. That's pretty much what it means. And so you're completing this course and evaluating how you can move to the next level, and that is to move into your career and or go to the next level to earn your bachelor's. So it covers assessments, it covers evaluations. As to, you know what it's like? It's like, how much have you really paid attention to what you've been doing since you took Introduction to Criminal Justice when you first entered this course, or J100? That's pretty much what it's doing. Oh, Professor, I don't remember everything. That's okay. It's not about that. Because here's what you're doing, guys. In order to become what you want to become, you begin to shape and mold that by focusing in on things. You remember things you took from the corrections course. You remember things you took from the drugs and crime course. You remember things that you took from the criminal law course, of course, and like I said, and the corrections course. If you took some other courses with other people, like policing in America and all those things, you're putting it all together, okay? And so what you're doing now is you're coming to a course that says, what we want you to do is now begin to project what it is that you want to do, because you should have an idea by now. And so it says here, it says, as a part of this course, you should complete a 10-hour field work experience, which you should be familiar with that kind of concept because of if you took Introduction to Corrections. Except this one is a lot different and a lot easier, because as you recall, when you took Introduction to Corrections, there were 4 elements only that you could use: jail, prison, parole, or probation. You're not limited by that anymore, okay? The whole sphere, or, you know, I have some people that want to become a criminal lawyer. I have some people who want to become a paralegal, and so forth and so on. So the basic thing at this point is for you to, as it says, you're required to complete a minimum of 10 hours of field work experience. These 10 hours are to be completed with an agency that you choose or organization. This experience is documented and submitted as your final report. Make sure you have citations and references, all right? And the field, and that's even as you prepare each week, the weeks for your summaries, as we're going to talk about that. We already talked about it, but I'm going to visit it again. So you want to make sure that the fieldwork experience is in the field of study that you are interested in. And with these 10 hours, you have an opportunity to either shadow a professional and gain real work experience. One student has already contacted me and said, I want to shadow a magistrate. I said, okay. You could do a ride along. You could do, you could work. Now listen, there are students who want to do halfway houses. Be aware that when you get to some of these things, there are some issues that may hit you in the face in terms of privacy from those individuals, so you might be prohibited. But ride-alongs are always good. So you have an opportunity to do that and gain real-world experience. That's what this is all about. Once again, like what the goal was of the report or the project in Introduction to Corrections J115. So we don't want, that's why this course is independent studies. As it says, learning does not take place solely in the classroom. It's based on actual contact. One of the great things that I did, I learned how to be a lawyer working in a law firm. And I started as a messenger, as you already know, and then a file clerk, and then a law librarian, and then they made me a law clerk, which is now called a paralegal, because I demonstrated to them. And then I was on my way to becoming a lawyer. But what I'm saying to you is that I was always operating in the field because my goal was to become a lawyer. And then I ended up, of course, doing other things after that. But my primary goal was to become that lawyer. And as you learned, that it was a defense attorney. And so when you take these courses, they prepare you for the field that you want to operate in. And so, you know, you can get, you could have books and lectures from me, but nothing beats you yourself going through. It's like an internship, kind of. That's the closest thing that I can give you to what we are talking about in terms of this assignment. And so you'll have a chance to see how things really work in real life. It says field work does not only allow you to experience the professional world of criminal justice firsthand, but it also allows you to make connections. That's the other part that I always stress to students. That's why I said think in terms of where you're going to go. You know, and you're going to learn this later on in this course, that it's this world today in terms of getting employment opportunities is based upon, of course, you're getting a good education and knowledge and being able to provide that information to your employer. But it is also based on familiarity, or I'm not talking about dealing with people just because they know you, but they also know you. And so guess what? Here's what happens. There's a bunch of people applying for a position, and then your name pops up in there. Oh, yeah, we know John Doe because John Doe did a project with us while they were in school. So they may take a second or third look and move you to the top because they know you. Now, remember, if you didn't do well with working with them in the field work for your assignment, then they're going to remember that too. So what is it? You're going to be professional, and you're going to put your best foot forward and perform well. Okay? So there's 5 steps to this. Here they are. First step is what you're going to do is research and identify a local, it said local criminal agency where you can complete a minimum of 10 hours of field observation. And then here are some possibilities. Police departments, and then halfway houses. Remember I already told you about the issues concerning that. Court proceedings, and so forth. So, but remember this. It needs to be criminal in nature. Now, paralegal is civil and criminal, so paralegal fits under the realm of criminal justice. But remember, if you're going to deal with civil suits for example, deal with some criminal aspect of your cases. Don't go with civil suits, okay? And so you don't have to complete it in a single session, but it's up to you. Okay. I think I saw something. Let me check that chat here. It says, are you able to do 2 field report observations, like visit a halfway house and visit? I don't recommend that. The reason is because what we want you to do is to concentrate on one field. If you could do 2 observations in the same 2 halfway houses or 2 court visits, that's fine. But no, I don't. That's 2 different areas. That's the idea of the field report, is for you to begin to focus on where you plan on going when you leave school, where you have an idea. You may not go there, but that's the way it is. So you got that? You got it? Okay. All right. So anyway, so step 2, I'm giving you step 1. Contact the agency. So you identified it first and researched it, looked it out, okay? You have an idea. And then it says, this important thing, and I don't foresee this happening to anybody. If for any reason you can't identify an agency, let me know right away. Well, I'm not going to be able to do much for you, because I'm just going to tell you we're going to brainstorm it, but you should, I already gave you what you should be thinking of. You should be thinking about what you want to do, and so forth and so on. Contact an agency by letter or phone. And the purpose is to introduce yourself, the purpose of your request, establish a date and time for completing this. So you know you have a schedule, and you can break it down. It doesn't all have to be done at one time. And if you're doing a ride along, this is a little note, between both, you should do that between the 4th and the 7th module to make sure that you have that ride along completed. And you're not to just show up in an agency and request a ride along or interview. So here's the deal. Let's say you run into a problem, and only one student I had ran into that problem. They needed a letter. First, I told them to check with their dean, and the dean would, or a dean and or advisor would write a letter or email. Or you could give my email information, and the person can email me. Or you can give me the person's email, that an agency, and then I would email them, letting them know. But try not to bounce it back to me. Most of the students have been able to, because most of you guys already either work in the field or either you know somebody in the field, one or the other. And the answer is yes, it could be your spouse. Can it be where you work already? Yes, it can. That's fine. Just because you work there and you're a police officer in XYZ department, then you can use that. Or if you work in corrections, you can use that. But use your major, your sergeant, your warden, or whomever it is, lieutenant. The point of the matter is that we don't want you to complete an assignment just to complete an assignment. Again, we want you to hone up your skills in terms of your future profession. At least one module before your meeting, mail or deliver a professional letter to the agency contact person. Remember, you have a contact person that confirms the date and time of your ride-along or interview, okay? Make sure that when you do your ride-along and interviews and use statements of individuals, you know, especially with the interview, citations, and you know how to do those because you did those for the interview that you had to do for Introduction to Corrections, where you had the name of the party and those kinds of things, and you put the date in that. You'll see the proper way when you check APA, but you're familiar with this. All of you should be, because you've done them already. During your ride along, agency visit, or interview, pay close attention to all that is happening. Ask questions along the way, and above all, listen and observe, and take notes yourself. And then a reminder, when conducting the field work, do it so dressed to impress properly. You know, I already said that. Let me say this to you. If you go and you wear like T-shirts, stuffed sweatshirts, you know, wear shirts with collars, you know, dress slacks pants, don't wear jeans, dress shoes, no tennis shoes or flip-flops, those kind of things, because you're representing the college and the program, and then also you want to leave an impression with whoever it is that you're working with in terms of the field report. So, because it gives you an opportunity for them to see as how you would be. Me, I would go as if I'm interviewing for a job there. And then the final step that you're going to do, see, and you see how it's not really that involved. This is the 2 to 3 page document describing what you observed while conducting the field work. As a conclusion to the report, listen, in a 2 to 3 page report, don't get confused by what I'm about to say. In a 2 to 3 page report, document what you observed while conducting. As a conclusion, write 1 to 2 paragraphs describing how your education prepared you for the job that you observed. So your introduction to corrections or whatever, you've taken courses in, some of your policing classes and so forth. And those of you who are in Minnesota know about post and what courses you had to take to prepare for that exam. So be sure, I don't have to tell you this, but it says cover page with your name, the agency that you visit, the dates and times of the field work. And, you know, that is also going to be in the weeks that you presented based upon what the schedule is that I covered in your in the module as well as in the rubric. The name of the person you observed. Don't say I observed an attorney. No, Attorney Wright, Attorney Smith, Jones, whoever. The contact, Officer so-and-so, the contact information of the agency, and the person that you observed. Schedule and due dates. And I said you are strongly encouraged to schedule your field work as soon as possible, or ASAP, ASAP. Try to take your field visits between week 4 and week 7 to allow enough time to get all the information gathered and prepare your report by week 9. Remember, along the way, you're going to let me know what you're doing. So don't wait until week 8 to do this, because you got assignments you have to complete before that. You'll be asked to present your first report update during Module 5, which I already told you. And so don't wait too long in your final Module 9, okay? So that's the course project. That's the field work component. Any questions? Type yes, if not, no. Okay, great. Okay, so it's about 9:39, and I'm looking forward to you guys having a successful quarter here in the course. Remember, next week, Module 2, there's no lecture, and so just quickly giving you the assignments, a high-profile case, and it tells you what, and then check your rubric. Now, make sure that when you do this paper, a lot of people mess up. They do not indicate which of the ethical systems, which you should be familiar with, Unitarianism, because in ethics, you discussed that, formalism or virtue ethics, explain how the action fits in one or the other. It is very important that you have that. I'm going to be looking for that. And it's a 2 to 3 page paper. Remember that. Not counting the cover page. Remember citations in the body throughout the paper and references at the end, and then your discussion post. And that's your assignments for week 2. I'm not going to go into week 3 because we'll have a lecture during week 3. And then, of course, the lesson content. is to go over these things. And you see again the things that we just talked about. And then what is an ethical system? And it explains those things just in case you're rusty on what you took. And then it explains Unitarianism, formalism, and virtue ethics. So it provides an idea that you discovered from your ethics class that you took in general ethics. Okay? And that's it for week 2. So now I am going to go back into the classroom, and I am going to give you your key phrase: criminal justice. That's it. So give that to me, and you'll get your points. But again, I've taken the time to go into detail the things, and let's start strong, finish strong, and knowing that I'm here as I've been previously in classes with you guys. Nothing's different this time. As I like to point out, except you guys have grown more. You know me, I know you, and let's just do this thing and let's be successful. So with that, I'm going to terminate this session. I'm going to say good night. Have a great week next week, and then you know what to do if you need to reach me. So I'm going to say good night. Thank you. See you in week 3. Thank you so much. All righty. Bye-bye.